In this journey, we're on our way to meet with the chief of a tribe called the Dukas. He lives in a village called Dritabiki, which is about 100 kilometres that way. There's a few obstacles to get over before we get there, so I think we'll speed it up a little bit.
The challenge of crossing the rapids of southern Suriname's rivers is not to be underestimated. The churning waters could easily have swallowed us had it not been for the skill of our Amerindian guides. It's a place of stunning natural beauty, but there's little time for relaxed contemplation when there's so much work to do. Crossing the mighty Kondabaha Rapids, it's clear how centuries ago they must have kept back a tide of settlers, gold prospectors and explorers. But we were heading downstream into Maroon territory and the heart of gold mining country. After 6 weeks travelling through the interior of this little-known South American country, even the simplest of luxuries seemed a million miles away.
So it's the end of a really, really tiring day. We've done 6 rapids, carrying the boat over them, and we're almost home. I really, really want a cup of tea. A cup of tea and a sandwich, please. That will do me.
The village of Dritabiki, although far from wealthy, shows clear signs of an active economy. A vibrant Maroon community founded by escaping slaves some 300 years ago, today it is the heart of the Nduka tribe and the place of residence of their paramount chief. Widely respected amongst his 5,000-strong community, Grandman Gazon is facing the increasingly challenging task of communicating his needs to the government. Sitting with his advisors, I learnt how gold mining activity in the area is spiralling out of control and how the long-term effects on their tribal lands were a major concern. Having heard of the problems, I was keen to see a gold mine firsthand, and we headed off in search of the inside story. So this is where we turn off the Tapahoni River onto the Lawa, and the journey from now takes us along the border of French Guiana. And it's you can actually see, I mean you probably can't see on the film, but you can actually see there's a change in the colour of the water, and that's because the Lawa River is extensively mined. So it's goodbye to slow days on the river and little forest hamlets and into mining territory. Apprehensively entering into a world of gold, guns and prostitution, I remember the words of the French ambassador to Suriname, Olivier Pellant.
Essentially, the gold diggers in this area, be it on the Surinamese side or on the French side, are called garimperos. They're Brazilians. And they've come in here digging gold, and they're very numerous. The most, if you like, horrific thing, digging gold, is the use of mercury. Mercury is a poison. It gets into the fish, and it gets into the people who eat the fish, and it is not a healthy thing. But one of the weaknesses of this new government is that it does not have the capacity to administer the interior. And in particular, along the border between France and Suriname, there are no administrators. There's no military police, which are the equivalent of border police, and there's no infrastructure at all.
Now, I've been thinking about this part of the trip ever since we arrived in Suriname. It's a lot harder than the stories we've covered so far, and I'd always wondered what mining communities or settlements were like. As we arrived today, just as the sun was going down, we pulled in and there's a whole group of Brazilians, or garimpeiros as they're known, looking very, very serious. It is the Wild West. From the shacks at the riverbank, we set out, an intense ride over several kilometres of rough track packed from the virgin rainforest. If there's anybody to ask about gold mining in Suriname, it's Mr. Hank Narendorp of Nana Resources. That's why we've come here to this remote airfield to meet with him and spend the day walking around one of his mines so he can explain the situation to us. And that's his plane coming right now. Hey Hank, how are you? Good, nice to see you again. It's very easy to look at mining activities and instantly put up a red flag and say, that's destructive, environmentally damaging. How would you react to people with that opinion?
They should keep the pressure, absolutely, because that keeps the other party also very alert, and then you have to make an effort to improve things.
How do you police in a way that? How do you make sure that the people working on your land are following the guidelines that you set out? Is there someone here that you have that monitors?
Yeah, I have a crew of some people here, and I don't know if I could do it, but I certainly have people here who can do that very well.
You mentioned actually, just before we were talking, that Geo was a character that plays a very strong role in that.
Absolutely, Geo. Yeah.
I can't, what was the word you used? Roughneck, that was it.
If necessary, he can be a roughneck,
He looks like a roughneck, I gotta tell you. I think the gun on the side does something to convince you that he's a fairly serious character. Do you think we could have a look at some of the sites, the way the way things work?
Of course.
From above, the immediate impact is indisputable. But I was interested to find out how it all worked on the ground. What are the processes? Joining Hank, we headed off towards one of the many teams working within his 100,000 hectare concession. This is alluvial mining. Once the trees have been removed, small teams of galimpieros set to work blasting away the soil with high-powered water jets. Liquefying an exposed layer known as pay gravel, this mineral-rich soil is then channeled into a pit, from where it is sucked up using powerful engines and pumped towards a tiered structure known as a sluice box. The principle being that the fine traces of gold, slightly heavier than the other sediment, are caught by a mesh-like carpet within the sluice.
I'd always imagined gold mining to be a really exact process where machines and chemicals made sure that every single gram of gold was extracted. And seeing it on this scale, the galimpieros, you realise there's a lot of margin for error. All of this wash, the remains of the area behind me that has been washed through this sluice, it still has gold in it. It just hasn't been caught by the carpet.
At the end of a 20-day cycle, the fine sediment is beaten from the carpets. It's at this point that the most alarming aspect of mining comes into play: mercury.
One thing I distinctly remember from my science lessons was that you never, under any circumstances, put raw mercury into your hand.
The mercury clings to the gold.
That is incredible. 20 days work. That equals that. One big hole. It really is very simple. You blast the living daylights out of the soil, drag it across a carpet, and then hope that in the carpet there's enough gold to make your day worthwhile. It's a lot of work. As you're strolling along the high street, looking in the shop windows, the jewellers, maybe hunting for that special ring or gold chain for your loved one, might be interesting to think that this is where it came from.
With the gold collected, it was back to the Galimpieros camp.
The way it works is every time that a site washes out the mats and prepares the gold, you're there.
Yeah, that's a must, because that's the rule. That are the rules of the concession. You have to pay 10% pay right now. After the burning, they're gonna pay 10%.
You say that with some authority. They're going to pay right now.
They're gonna right now.
Right now.
Without joking, they know this one.
Because I noticed you got your handgun and you got your shotgun.
With the gun, people respect you. And without the gun, nobody respect you.
The final stage is separating the gold from the mercury.
It's a simple process, really. You put the metal mixture into a container and superheat it. The mercury vaporizes and is then condensed and collected in a water jar off the side. And that mercury can then be used again. Now, it's extremely hot in here. And even though this retorque is supposed to capture as much of the mercury as possible, the idea of being so close to it with heavy metals in the gas floating around, I'm not too keen on.
The use of a retort is another rule strictly enforced by Geo, ensuring that the finished product, a huge chunk of solid gold, is produced with a minimal release of mercury into the environment. Hank's policing of his mines is a small step in the right direction. However, the timeless allure of gold has drawn tens of thousands of galimpieros into Suriname, nearly all of whom are unmonitored or illegally working the land. As they split the enormous nugget, even I started to feel gold fever.
Just waiting for a huge piece to ping off in my direction. Hot gold. Still hot. Yeah, freshly baked gold. Just the way I like it.
How do you think that Suriname as a whole can try and control and minimise the impact that galimpieros are having?
I'm afraid that the government hasn't got the infrastructure in the interior to have this thing controlled. Nor taxes, nor public health. You know, maybe public health a little bit. And then very often through other channels. I think that the best way to do it is through the people that are holding the mining rights, like myself. You know, I'm in the area, I'm active here, I have certain interests here, and I should be helping the government. I'm a little government here, simple like that. I'm an extension, I'm a piece of the government, and the government should understand that and give me all the support to do its task here.
After a hard day's work, Gio decided to show us how some miners spend their gold on a neighbouring concession.
Prostitution does play a serious part in gold mining activities, and here in the middle of the jungle, there's no need to be subtle.
Extracting gold in their own way, a tired bunch of hardened women ply their trade. Henk doesn't allow prostitution on his land, but Gio, the black sheriff of the Antino mines, six-shooter at his side and cowboy stance, dance the night away.
You know you're in gold country when you have to pay for your coffee in gold. Look at the shelves here. There's a couple of things. If I wanted some chickly, it would be 0.3 grams of gold. Toothpaste, 0.7 grams. What else we got? Some flour, 4.5 grams. That must be pretty good flour. If I had another gram, I could get myself a tub of margarine. Underberg, that's the one for the serious hangover. That's a whole gram. And around here, with the amount they drink, you're going to need it.
The process of mining is just one side of the story. How locals feel about it is another. I was surprised to learn that the indigenous communities of Kwamahakin were unaware that their land lay within the boundaries of Henk's concession.
Ano respectivi, ano accepto stemming of ano sorry next for agrom.
No. Alas was problem real that the tracing takiya problem. Aqui se consegui de matar quick. Ano bom. E oroko that say, e oroko kandor sa apim, e abi wagi, e abi also. Ano wanin ano anabin alasani abi mauna binawasani just. Yeah. Kada may barike tagma. Demani si busuma no sab next.
Daarom ask you make lang di lupus jinso kondre, dat na verzoek. Dat na verzoek samen tak tide, en dat a kondre ku unu, no up next. Next no de. Dem chinengere lai, pa dem chiwa e gas koro, pa dem chiwa o leri, pa dem chiwa o sabi, pa dem chiwa o kistre ontwikkeling. So no mo eita le pa ubende no asa no buso. Okay, dat na ala samitaki.
From my brief stay in Paramacca, it's clear that a lack of communication has compounded a complex issue. Moving on, we quickly came across more signs of the relentless search for gold. Factory-like barges made of scrap metal, crudely designed to mine from the riverbed. The barge system uses the same principles as land-based mines: powerful engines, suction pumps, tiered wash plates, mining mats and mercury. Confined to the barge, small teams work in shifts.
Imagine it's a pretty tough life. You're living on the river, you've constantly got this noise, you're in search of gold, and this is where you sleep.
With no safety restrictions, it's a dangerous business. Possibly the most hazardous are the smallest barges on the river. In the absence of a mechanical arm, brave divers spend up to 5 hours a day steering the nozzle of a suction pump, eking out a living directly from the riverbed.
How's it work? Is this his boat, his machine, or is it? Does he have a boss?
Huh? A few bottle?
No, boss man in a camp.
Oh, the boss is on the other side.
I work man.
Sit eating chicken. The boss is eating chicken, and this guy's in the darkness down there with a light bulb strapped to his head. Hi, man. Thomas.
Yes.
Good luck. Best of luck with those conger eels.
Turning onto a small creek, I saw firsthand how these activities affect locals. Moisey is a Paramaccan bush doctor, a man with an immense knowledge of his surroundings. However, due to mining in the area, the most basic commodity is the hardest to come by.
This water no good? No drinking? So there you have it, straight from Moisey's mouth. This water's no good to drink.
Each day, members of his community must travel for an hour just to find clean water.
If there was ever any doubt that mining on any scale has an effect, immediate effect on the rivers here in this part of Suriname, I think this pretty much proves it. Clean water of a small, tiny little tributary that feeds into the larger Grand Creek. One is drinkable, and one is completely murky and full of heavy sediment and trace elements of mercury.
Moisey lives in a small settlement, but there are huge communities on the Maroon facing similar problems. Our next stop was one of the largest.
This is a Paramaccan village called Langatabiki, and I've come here today to speak with their grandman or paramount chief.
Grandman Levy is literally under siege from all forms of prospecting.
Sutukong Euroko ala bush chabwe, udu ala bauxite, go to ala so to warde for adoti ala de chabwe. Ade pre basfin ma mina grama mino mantaki next. Da asanda tina wan big problem you. Ome 100 Brazilian dia ina abushi ni angala goni ngasani una masa samfudu. Fudema photo de na iwani ju aleti libi di umwabi. Da aide wan fuka fasha ni alibi intaiku dia ni wan so to slap ete.
In the time of slavery, we fought for our rights. As we have fought in the beginning, now we are still fighting because we want to see our children to be in their own land.
To many, the village of New Coffee Camp exemplifies the struggle of the peoples of the interior. In the 1960s, the village and all its inhabitants were relocated to make way for a government project, a hydroelectric dam. I met with village spokesperson Danny Priol to find out what happened.
It was just like telling you, listen, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't need your opinion. This is what I'm gonna do, and you have to move. If you don't want to move, okay, it's up to you.
Start swimming.
Start swimming. Okay.
The elders still vividly recall the trauma of when the river came to them. Although given fair warning, few comprehended the gravity of the situation, many refusing to leave their homes. In disbelief, they watched as the invading waters washed away their sacred sites and burial grounds. Now, 30 years on, they're facing another relocation. But this time, it's about gold.
If you want to put up a mine, okay, no problem. Yeah, we don't mind. Yeah, just don't relocate us. Just let us have the opportunity to do our activities. Just give us the opportunity to do our own business. Because not everyone wants to work for the company. We just want to live peacefully here. I don't think I will stand looking at someone pushing or breaking down my house with a bulldozer. If you want to kill, finish this village just for mining activities, go ahead, it's yours. We are not gonna move. Never.
With our 3-month journey drawing to a close, we headed for Galibi, a beacon of hope for indigenous and tribal peoples and home to the coastal Carib Indians. Meeting with the village leaders, it soon became apparent that the Ka'rina are an extremely organised and progressive tribe, democratically elected captains implementing the wishes of the community. Realising that communication plays a key role, they've established a 2-way radio station to assist other indigenous communities.
And just that way, allemaal als binnenlanders een betere eenheid en betere samenwerking kunnen opbouwen om dit eigenlijk in deze een grote doorbraak te doen.
Aware that progress means embracing external influences, the Ka'rina are working with government bodies.
Tour operators involve the local people in tourism activities, and what we do as a national tourism organization is to give them tools and give them training into making the community the priority part in the tourism activity.
But it's not all about tourism. Stenasu's approach is a perfect example.
Our main purpose is conservation. The local community is part of our conservation activity because all the guys who are working for us are coming out of the village. It is the idea of Senasi after a period to give everything over to the village people, let them do conservation.
Let them control their
own things.
The Ka'rina's strong sense of cultural identity in a quickly changing world has enabled them to perpetuate tribal traditions alongside the inevitable need for change. Much like the endangered turtles that nest on the beaches here, the way ahead is full of challenges. As the indigenous and tribal people of Suriname take tentative steps into the 21st century, the future is anything but certain. But there is hope.
At the beginning of this trip, it was really uncertain what we would find along our journey. We'd mapped out a route that would take us along rivers, over mountains, to remote communities where we would hopefully ask them what they felt about their current situation. When you're in an environment that only offers you natural resources and you want to progress and you want to develop, then it's a reality, you have to use them. And how you use them is more the problem. For this journey, I think we have had some success. We've managed to create a small difference, only a small difference. In Kwamala Samutu, some children received books and pens from someone that had joined us online. In the pipeline, there's a negotiation for a deal that might just in the future give the Wayana people of Paramacca in that area some control over their land. Naively, we've travelled through the country, and I think that's probably the best way, because had we tried to be specialists, we probably would have been blinded by our own strict lines, and we've had no lines at all. It's just been, show me, let me learn, and we have, and I thank the people of Suriname for that.